My screenshot on YouTube, they're always me like, "Hi, I'm Erin McDowell. Hi." Welcome to the first ever episode of Bake It Up a Notch Bite Size. These are mini episodes that we're going to be doing in between our big episodes to kind of answer other questions you have or fill in gaps of information that we may have missed. And I want to start this very first episode off. Our January episode of Bake It Up a Notch was all about pizza. We talked about 6 different kinds of pizza and so many different flavors, but we didn't cover some of my other favorite pizza items. And so I was like, our first bite-sized episode has got to be about calzone, stromboli, and rolls. We're taking it to the next pizza notch here, and we're gonna make some of these and just talk about what makes them different than making a pizza now that you've honed your pizza skills in our episode. So we're gonna start off by making a calzone together. For me, a calzone is so much better homemade than it is when you order one, even from your favorite pizza place, because they are really the best when they're fresh. So we're gonna make it the way that I really like it today, which is not too much filling inside. So I've got here pizza dough, and you can really use any pizza dough you want for this. One of the cool things about these bite-sized episodes is that they're building on techniques we've already taught. So I'm not using any recipes today. Well, there was a recipe for the pizza dough. This is Jim Leahy pizza dough, which is on Food 52. It's a genius recipe. But we're not using any specific recipes to assemble our calzones and strombolis. We're just gonna have a lot of fun building them together. So basically what a calzone is a folded pizza. Rather than the toppings being on top, they're tucked inside and it's fully wrapped in dough. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna press it on my work surface. I've got a floured work surface here. You can also use lightly oiled hands so you don't incorporate too much flour into your dough. And I'm kind of stippling it into a bit of an oblong shape. And when I get it to about the thickness that I want, I'm gonna go ahead and transfer it to a parchment-lined baking sheet. I like to do it on parchment because I really feel like it helps throughout the process. And I'm getting it kind of an oblong shape. You can make calzones in really different sizes. I like to make them a little bit more personal sized, and that makes it really fun for pizza night because everyone can kind of do their own fillings. We're gonna start with just a little bit of sauce, not too much sauce. That's one mistake I think people do make. You can always serve it with more sauce for dipping. That's something that I love. Then we're gonna do a couple dollops of good ricotta cheese. Now, this is another mistake I think some people make. Ricotta is a pretty wet ingredient, and I think sometimes people use a little bit too much here. This is just gonna be a cheese calzone, so I'm doing some mozzarella now, and a little Parmesan too. All right, we're gonna go ahead and give this a fold. You can actually even use the parchment paper to help you here. It's one of the reasons I like using it. And we're going to pinch it all around to seal. So we're just pinching the dough with our fingertips. And if you want, you can even do a little bit of a decorative crimp here, or you can just pinch it really, really well. And the main idea is that you just wanna make sure that it actually is sealed so that we don't get any leaks coming out. Another thing you sometimes wanna do with a calzone is brush it with a little egg wash, maybe cut a vent to help some steam escape, but that's basically it. We've got all the fillings inside our calzone. We're gonna bake this until it's really golden brown on the outside, nice and melty and gooey on the inside. I'm gonna bake this at 400 degrees so I can get that golden brown, but you can always knock that temperature down if it's browning too much for your liking. All right, next up we've got stromboli. Another one of my favorites. A stromboli is more like a giant roll with all the pizza ingredients inside, and it's typically sliced to be served, so you get these beautiful, nice little kind of roll pieces. So what I like to do for that is we wanna go ahead and pat it out into a rectangle shape. And again, doesn't have to be perfect, just like our calzone. We just kind of want a uniform evenness to the dough. We'll go ahead and transfer it to our baking sheet. Sometimes strombolis don't really have sauce in them. Instead, they're served with sauce for dipping. I still sometimes like to do just a really thin layer because I do think it helps some of the ingredients to stick to the inside. but you don't want to go heavy on the sauce with a Stromboli. That is not part of the game. I'm gonna go ahead and make this with some pepperoni here. We'll go ahead and just lay the toppings all over the surface of the dough. Then we're basically, after we cheese it up, we're gonna roll this up almost like we're making cinnamon rolls with all of these yummy toppings inside. So I'm using pepperoni and some different cheeses in here. You know, this is a great thing to do with whatever you've got in your fridge. So your favorite pizza toppings, you can customize this. You can make a few different ones. Really anything goes. We're just gonna roll this on up. Oh yes. When you're done, you get kind of this long log. And again, you could kind of roll it the other way for slightly fatter Stromboli slices. It's sort of up to you. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bake this. I'm gonna stuff the rest of that cheese that fell out right in there. We're gonna bake it with the seam of the Stromboli down. You can cut a couple of vents into the top of this if you like. And after this bakes and gets really nice and crispy and golden, we can slice it while it's warm for deliciously dippable stuffed sort of pizza. Oh, one other thing. Let's give it a drizzle of olive oil. Maybe a little more cheese on top. So we're gonna pop this Stromboli in the oven. I'm gonna bake it at 375 to make sure we've got plenty of time to cook the whole thing. All right, this next one we're gonna do is one of my favorites. They're called rolls. And I'd actually never heard of this style in the Midwest where I'm from. I didn't hear about it until I moved to the New York and New Jersey areas. And the first part of it is a lot like making a Stromboli. The only difference is that it's cut into individual portions before baking rather than after. So it's also one that you wanna maybe serve with a side of sauce for dipping, and you can do any toppings you want, keep it nice and individual. So we'll make 2 different rolls here. So again, you don't always do sauce. I like to do a little just for the sake of helping the ingredients stick. Once you get your sauce on, you can go ahead and divide your dough. I'm just using a pastry wheel or pizza cutter here to divide that rectangle of dough I had into 2 even pieces. I'm gonna make one with meat and cheese and one with olives. This is a great time to use whatever toppings you want. Like I said, clean out that fridge. If you've got people in your house that want different toppings, these are a great way to go, because rather than having to make a whole pizza to please everyone, everyone can kind of build their own roll. And then we will do, of course, plenty of cheese. Then we're gonna roll up these individually. So again, the finished one will sort of look like a pastry in the style of like a cinnamon roll or something like that, all rolled up. The advantage here is when you make a Stromboli, the inside is kind of soft. But when you make a roll, the whole thing is a lot crispier. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and roll them up. These are actually a tiny bit thicker than I meant, so I might even cut it in half. I could have maybe cut this rectangle into 4 even pieces. Like that. And see, all those pizza fillings are all inside that roll there. We can put this onto our parchment-lined baking sheet. You can drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil. I'm gonna bake these at 400 until they get nice and crispy, and it's like an individual slice of pizza, all in one delicious, crispy roll. When your items come out, you can kind of choose to cut them or eat them whole. Typically, I like to cut a calzone in half to serve it. I usually cut it kind of at a diagonal just to make sure I get the best of all of the filling that's inside. Oh yeah, not too much filling. That's important to me. I also have some sauce here that I warmed up. Great to have some sauce for dunking all of these things in. The best way to tell if any of these are done is you're looking for a nice, even golden brown color on the outside. The other thing you can do is use a spatula to gently lift the item. It should be really nicely golden brown on the bottom and nice and sturdy. That's a good way to tell that the crust is crisp. The best part of all of these yummy things in front of me is that you don't even really need a recipe. You can take all your skills from our last episode of Bake It Up a Notch and really take things to the next level, customize, make your own. Be sure to show me your bakes by using hashtag Bake It Up a Notch. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Your questions and comments that you leave on these episodes might actually appear in a future episode of Bake It Up a Notch Bite Size. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can be made aware of new episodes as they become available. We'll see you next time, and happy baking.